having a healthy and whole marriage is a blessing to your community. It's a blessing to your family. It's a blessing to everyone that you encounter. Even if you don't realize the impact you're having, you are having an impact. So it's very, very important, because we know that from marriage comes family, therefore setting the foundation for every community and for society as a whole.
What you have to understand is your marriage has an impact always.
Always.
A lot of times we look at certain people and say, okay, they're very special, or they're a celebrity, or they're a pastor, or they're a preacher. And so, you know, it's important that their marriage look good, that they do things right, or God has blessed them in a certain way to have certain things because they're on a pedestal and they're in a spotlight. But I'm telling you right now, when you get married, there is a spotlight on you.
Absolutely.
And the way that you know that to be true is, think about your parents, whether they are together, whether they are apart, whether they're living or not. Their marriage, or if there was a lack of a marriage, maybe they weren't married, but regardless, their relationship and their marriage or lack of it had an impact on you.
Absolutely.
Positive or negative.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we're in the time of, you know, self-care and self-reflection on our lives and trying to, you know, unpack all the things and the traumas that we've been through. But when you look at those things and we look at our parents, who they were and what they modeled to us, and the household that we grew up in directly impacted who we are now. And that goes down generation to generation. So even if it's just your children, even if it's just your friends, even if it's just the other people in your church, your marriage has an impact. And God designed marriage to have an impact. It was designed to make changes. It was designed to be something that will be modeled, that people could look at and to see. And so that's why it's important, not just for your sake, but that you must demand that you have a good marriage. If you're in a marriage right now and it's just feeling lackluster, it just feels like whatever, you're just going through the motions and you're settling for that, that's not good enough. And you have to put a demand to say, no, I'm going to have a better marriage. And if we want to get into our story, that's kind of what you went through.
I mean, I just want to kind of circle back on your example has an impact on other people. I think I've told this story way long time ago, but there was a particular couple, an older couple that I used to encounter on a frequent basis at a particular church. And this is before I was even married. And then once we got married, I would look at them and how they would interact. And I would just stare at them because it was just so cute, you know, but it was also, I knew that it was real. It wasn't something they was putting on. And like I said, they were an older couple, but they was always hugging on each other. He was always whispering something to her and she would laugh, and, you know, he would flirt with her and things like that. And it just blessed me so much. And I can remember saying, that's what I want. I want that. And when we got married, I think that's probably what kind of sparked that thing, like, I will not settle for a lackluster marriage, because and they've been married for years, and, you know, his wife has passed, and the only regret I have was not going up to them and telling them just how impactful their relationship, even though I did not know them personally, I never talked to them, like in passing, you know, but I never sat down and talked with them. I never been to their home, but just watching them interact with one another from a distance ministered to me and made me want to have that. And so I went to the Lord and asked him, show me how to have that.
So that's awesome, because what you realize is through their marriage, they preach the gospel to you. They preach the good news. And so your marriage itself can preach the gospel to people that you don't even know. And so they modeled something, and they were a believing couple. And so you saw this is possible. You wanted this. And that's what the gospel is. It's the good news, almost too good to be true, that there's redemption, there's salvation, there's something better than what I'm experiencing. And they ministered to you through their marriage. That's awesome. And they in a sense won you to, you already saved, but listen to what I'm saying here. They won you to Jesus in that area.
Absolutely.
Because even though we get saved, there's a lot of areas of our lives that don't look like him.
They need salvation.
You know, and so your marriage needs salvation. That's something we always talked about in church growing up, that your marriage has to get saved. And so if you're not walking in heavenly results in your marriage, there's an aspect of salvation, of the salvation blessing package, you're missing out on. And so you have to develop a vision for your marriage, and that can start with seeing it on somebody else first. You know, and so when we're obviously we teach about it, but we're also very particular about how we present ourselves when we're in public and how we do things. Even if we feel at odds because we're in the middle of a disagreement, we're very careful to not demonstrate that, not out of a sense of falsity, but because it's very important that we represent the gospel with our marriage. And it's not fake, because whatever disagreement we're in, there's still a underwriting agreement that we're trying to get back to. And so that's always our goal. And well, I'm getting ahead. So let's talk about, if you want to get into the rest of the story, you can.
When we got married, one of the things that we struggled with and didn't realize we were going to struggle with because we were friends.
Yeah.
Like, we loved each other. That wasn't a question. We were friends, things like that. We had things in common. And I guess, like some people would say, we had a vibe. Like, we had a vibe and, we loved each other.
Yeah.
So we didn't realize that we were going to struggle with communication. We didn't know we was going to struggle with our intimacy. We probably knew we were going to struggle financially.
Yeah, we saw that one coming.
Yeah, we saw that one coming. That wasn't too much of a surprise. But the other two, we figured we had love, right? Well, let me tell you, having love alone is not enough. You have to have skill in order to have a successful marriage. And we learned this very, very quickly in the beginnings of our marriage. So when we began to struggle with these issues, I went before the Lord and I said, Lord, this is not what you promised me. Like, I know there is better. I didn't question if I married the right man, because I know God spoke to me about that. But I said, well, then what's wrong then? Something has to be wrong with me or him, us, because I know God is never wrong. So what's the problem? So I seeked him for help. Or I sought him.
I was going to slide.
I sought him for help, and he answered. And that meant that we had